Then Wednesday, Christmas Eve, December 24th, we'll start at the epicenter for Christmas in New York. That is Rockefeller Center. We'll be there in the morning from 11 to approximately 2:30, doing book distribution and taking prasadam, which will be delivered. Then from there, we'll walk to Times Square and have a massive walking Harinam Sankirtan for 2 hours around Times Square, distributing books, chanting the holy names, dancing in ecstasy, and handing out hundreds of Christmas cookies. Then we wrap up early at 5 p.m. and we come back here to Radha Govinda Mandir for a wonderful night we're calling Sankirtan Warrior Appreciation Night. So this is a wonderful once-a-year chance we get to do to share our appreciation for all those devotees going out on the front lines, doing book distribution and Harinam every single day. We'll share appreciations, we'll share Sankirtan stories to inspire us all, and of course we'll have a wonderful holiday feast here. So that begins at 6:30 right here. It'll actually be in the Bhakti Loft space upstairs, and we are opening it for everyone. So please come if you don't have plans or want to associate with the devotees on the auspicious night of Christmas Eve. Please come. Again, you need to scan to register. So I'm going to zoom in here. So please, if you can take out your phone, you can take a picture and scan it. It'll take you directly to a website. If you can't scan or do it now, there's also a poster in the lobby. So before you leave tonight, check the bulletin board in the front lobby. There's a poster at the top with all the details and the QR code to scan. Again, you must register if you want to receive our live location while we're going around distributing books. One more thing, again, about the Swan Night. You all are invited to participate, and this is a really inspiring chance to hear from the Sankirtan warriors, their stories, and be uplifted and encouraged to try to spread this mercy we've received. Also, I'd like to have the opportunity to share a very special limited edition gift that you can get today. So here it is. Dramatic flair to it. Wonderful. Haribol. We have these wonderful holiday gifts for you. So this is my friend Sudipta. He can show you in one of the bags. We have wrapped it very nicely for you. Inside, we have a hardbound Bhagavad Gita. This is Bhagavad Gita as it is, has wonderful pictures. It has the Sanskrit, translation, English, purport, all original Srila Prabhupada. Then behind it, we also have the 4 questions by His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu. It's a wonderful entry book for those looking to go deeper and enter the Gita. Then also inside the bag, we have a Christmas cookie and also a candy cane, prasadam, so that you can share this with whoever you like. Also, we have a wonderful card, and I'll just read the card to you. Looks like this. Very nice. All you have to do is sign your name, by the way. It says, "These are books on yoga and meditation that have helped me find more gratitude and inner peace. I hope you can read them and enjoy a stress-free holiday season. Your ever well-wisher," and you can sign your name. So these are wonderful because this message is universal. It's almost secular, and we can give it to anyone we want. So we can give it to our coworkers, our peers at school, our friends, our neighbors. You can gift these to anyone. And of course, we'd like to have many more of these to give you, but there's only so many hands on deck this year. You can be part of the team next year if you like as well. But we just have 25 of these gift bags remaining. And we're selling them at $25, which is very cheap. And if you'd like to give any more donation, all the proceeds from these gifts, they go to our Greater Live to Give campaign this year, which is to distribute Bhagavad Gitas. New York City, this temple alone, has a goal of 2,700 Bhagavad Gitas distributed this year. And I must share also the worldwide goal this year. Can anybody guess? Anybody know the worldwide goal that BBT has set? It's 4.6 million Bhagavad Gitas. So that is the whole world's goal. So ISKCON centers all around the world are working, especially now in this Prabhupada Marathon. It's one of the most generous times of year, and so we also want to be generous. And our worldwide goal is 4.6 million Bhagavad Gitas. Last year, I think the goal was 4.2 million Bhagavad Gitas, and they distributed 4.5 million Bhagavad Gitas. So it's very achievable. We just have to put our minds to it, and every single bit helps. Every Gita will be counted towards that goal, and you can become part of something that's much bigger than your family, than this temple, than New York. You can help spread its message all over the world. So again, please, if you'd like to see me, we're inviting you all to this side of the table during the Jai Radha Madhav prayers. As soon as the class begins, however, we will move these all to the lobby, where if there's any remaining, you can buy them there on your way out. Again, they're limited edition though. There's only 25 left. So if you want one, you can please come around this side during the prayers and purchase one here. Also, one note is that tomorrow is, can anyone guess? Anybody checking the Gaudiya calendar? Anybody know what tomorrow is? Say it louder. Haribo! It's Srila Jiva Goswami's disappearance day. So this is one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, one of our acharyas. And so to celebrate, we're also going out on Sankirtan. And I'd love to share, I know I'm like maybe going over time, and I'm sorry, I'm just so inspired to share so much with you all. There's this wonderful note written by Narottam Das Thakur. And it reads as follows. One second. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So, this is a letter from Srila Narottam Das Thakur to Srila Jiva Goswami, who was his spiritual master. So he wrote down the book scores. These were the original 3 book distributors: Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and Shamananda Pandit Goswami. So these 3 were the original book distributors of our sampradaya. And I'd love to share this image widely soon, but it's they're wonderful book scores, distributing all these transcendental literatures, including Srimad Bhagavatam, including Chaitanya Charitamrita. And what's amazing is that back then, they had no printing press. So here what Narottam Das Thakur concludes his letter with. He states, "Until we are able to develop another type of technology to print the books, due to the difficulty involved in creating books by hand, which is being neglected, most of our book distribution program will be postponed. We are sure that one day some magnanimous person will come and will develop the movement of ecstatic love of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, distributing books all over the world. Until then, what will we, persons who are poor, bereft, and abominable, do? What is the benefit of discussing the stories of the Lord's incarnations, worshiping the Lord's deities, giving musical recitations of the Lord's pastimes, chanting the Lord's holy names on beads, etc., when we have such small scores?" So this was a very emotional letter Narottam Das Thakur wrote to Srila Jiva Goswami, expressing his great desire to expand the Sankirtan mission. So while Krishna has blessed us all to be in this age, in this time, to serve Srila Prabhupada in these ways, we can take full advantage and go on Harinam Sankirtan. Thank you so much. Now I will pass it on along to my beloved God brother, Anupam Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari. Follow. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda Radhe.
Thank you, Prabhu. Welcome. Jai. Om Ajnanatirmanandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Anupam Das, and I could remember maybe 11, 12 years ago, the first time I was ever in Kirtan was actually in this room right here. And I remember kind of coming in. I was a seeker of sorts, and into meditation, philosophy, into Bhagavad Gita somehow or other. And I remember I was invited to this program here, and I came in, and I heard what was going on. I saw what was going on. I just thought, what in the world is all this? It was so foreign to me. But somehow or other, it cut through all of that hesitation. I could sense that there was something very real going on here, something very beautiful, something that my soul was always longing for. And so that's what I'd like to speak about today, the universality of Krishna consciousness and how to develop that thing for which we are all longing. So, my big question was, well, what's the meaning of life, right? What's the best thing I could do with my time? And I was very happy to notice that at the very outset of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that question is very emphatically answered. It says, Savaipum sam paro dharmo yato bhaktira toksaje ahoitakiya pratiyata yayatma supersedati, which means that the supreme way of life for all of humanity is that way of life by which one can develop love for God, love for Krishna. What a revolutionary concept. First and foremost, most all of what we're seeing nowadays is advertising the exact opposite, right? We're taught to go to school and to get a job in such a way that we can mold the world according to our desires, right? So that we could make X amount of money so that we could buy this specific house and that specific car and develop a certain degree of control over the world around us. But here the Bhagavatam is saying something absolutely revolutionary, and it is revolutionary. The idea that happiness comes not from selfish gratification, but from giving of ourselves to somebody else. That was just revolutionary to me, completely struck me in a way that nothing else had ever before. So, if we accept that love is the highest thing, and that the goal of life is to develop that love, right? Do we all accept that? Anybody have any doubts about that in particular? I think it's pretty standard. Even amongst the secular world, the idea that love is the highest thing is often widely accepted. But if we do accept that, then the next question becomes, well, how do we develop that love? How do we get rid of the blockages that are there in the heart in a way that that love can be revealed, rather? So that's also given very clearly in the same exact chapter, 17th verse, wherein Shukadev Goswami says, Shrinvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridantaksto hebhadrani vidhu noti suhritsitam. That Krishna, who's God, by the way, that's a big thing. He's God, he loves us. And what he does is he's seated in the heart of everybody. And he's the benefactor of the truthful devotee. And specifically, one of his favorite things to do, it mentions in that verse, is that he cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of one who has developed the urge to hear his messages. It's pretty cool, right? Anybody agree that that's kind of cool? Yeah? A couple head nods. I think it's great. When I first heard it, I was like, wow, there you go. I could recognize all of these blockages that are there in the heart. I could sense that there was a love deeply, seated within me, but I could tell that there was some fog there or something covering it. And so there it's very clearly explained at the very outset that the way to get rid of those blockages is to develop an urge for hearing Krishna's messages. Simple enough, right? But at the same time, maybe some of us haven't experienced that even after many years of going through the motions in Krishna consciousness, still we may feel perhaps more of an urge to hear some political commentator or maybe hear some kind of Netflix show or something like that. And so, what's the deal? How come we're not exactly experiencing that urge that's being spoken of? Well, glad you asked. Same chapter, 2 verses later, it's described, Shru Shru Shro Shadadanasya Vasudev Kataruchi Syanmahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevana. That by rendering service to the pure devotee, someone who's completely free from all material desires, then one develops an urge to hear the messages of Vasudev. Not only do they develop an urge, like I might feel an urge to go outside if I feel hot or take off my jacket. But they develop what's called Vasudev Kata Ruchi. They get actually a taste for hearing Vasudev Kata. That's a great thing, Vasudev Kata. Does anybody have any experience in hearing Vasudev Kata that made them think, wow, this is so much better than Netflix? Anybody else? A few people. Go cool, of course. He knows all about it. But I definitely felt it myself. And The beautiful thing about Vasudev Katha is that it's never-ending bliss. All those other things like Netflix and sports and all those things, they provide some minute degree of sensation. You feel a little excited, perhaps. You watch something, it gets you riled up, but then it goes away. It's a big fake out in the end. But with Vasudev Katha, the happiness that you get, the pleasure that you experience within is never ending. And that's what we should be going for, right? The example is given like, I could offer you, say, a strawberry that actually is a GMO strawberry, and it's going to be really bad for you in the long run, give you cancer. Or you could have a strawberry cheesecake that is filled with all kinds of vitamins and minerals, and will actually be good for you in the long run. So that's the difference. In the material world, the things that we enjoy, it's not that there's no enjoyment at all whatsoever, but that enjoyment is ultimately not conducive to our ultimate happiness. And it's so minuscule in comparison to the pleasure derived from actually serving Krishna, hearing Krishna's messages. This is described very emphatically in Rishabhdev's teachings to his sons, where it gets a little heavy, so you had to excuse me. I know it's a family program and all, but I think we'll go there. Rishabhdev tells his son something crazy. He says, Nayam deho deha bhajamni loke kistankaman arhita vidbhujamye tapo divyam putrakayena sattvam shudyed yasmad brahmasaukam tunantam. That happiness derived from Netflix and GMO strawberries is likened to the happiness that, say, an animal derives from eating some kind of disgusting thing off the sidewalk. Most of us live in New York. You probably have seen the dog going after something disgusting on the sidewalk before, right? I know that I have for sure. It's visceral. It's so grotesque, to see them go after like a dead pigeon, on the road or some, 10-day-old chicken bone that's there on the sidewalk. But to them, it's pleasurable. To them, it's enjoyment. And they're apparently getting something out of it. And so that's a fact. They are getting something out of it. In the same way that we're getting something out of our pleasure that we derive from the senses, right? But if you were to compare that to the pleasure that one derives from tapo divyam, which is divine austerity, sacrificing immediate gratifications for Krishna's pleasure, you'll see there's no comparison. It's described that type of happiness, that pleasure is brahmasaukyam, which means it's everlasting and ever increasing. That sounds pretty nice, right? Ever increasing happiness. We basically have no frame of reference for it in the material world. Here everything is so fleeting and always disappointing and leaves us wanting more. But we're told there that eternal happiness for which we're seeking is actually available. But it's not available in the immediate gratifications that we often think it is. It's available through tapo divyam, through sacrifice for Vishnu, sacrifice for Krishna, sacrifice for Lord Chaitanya. So one may then ask, well, what's the highest sacrifice then? If I really want to experience the nectar, if I really want to experience bliss, then what can I actually spend my time doing? And the nice thing about these shastras, forgive me if it seems like I'm being repetitive, but they give us all the answers. And you'll find the same answers given in different ways. In Bhagavad Gita, it's given in a very broad way, right? Everything you do it as an offering unto me. Always think of me, become my devotee, so on and so forth. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it's a little bit more specific. And then in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see practical examples that literally happened just a couple generations ago. And two of my favorite examples from that book of how we should actually spend our time so that we can feel eternally blissful and always be developing and prospering in our devotional service, in our relationship with Krishna, deepening that love, are there in the Madhya Lila. And they happen right next to each other, actually. The first is of the Kurma Brahmana, which is a great name. Kurma Brahmana. I think it'd be a good cat name, Kurma. You may agree. A little controversial there, but... so Lord Chaitanya meets this Brahmana, who's kind of a regular guy, so to speak. Obviously, he's an eternal associate, but he's got a family, he's got a job, he's got a wife, he's got kids, kind of like a lot of us, right? And he meets Lord Chaitanya right before he's about to depart for his tour. And he's enamored by Lord Chaitanya. He's blown away by him. How could you not be? Could you imagine if you met Lord Chaitanya? I often think about that, like if I had a time machine, where would I go? I think it's probably Gaur Leela. I'd like to see Chaitanya doing his thing. But so he meets Lord Chaitanya, who's Krishna himself. Could you imagine? Radha and Krishna together. So beautiful. So much love is there. So he's enamored by Lord Chaitanya, and he's so inspired. In meeting him, he's thinking, I want to leave everything, and I want to go with you. Can I go with you now? Can I leave my family behind? And Lord Chaitanya tells him, no, you should stay at home, do your duty, right? Bhagavad Gita, do your duty. And this is radical, often overlooked, he tells him, become a guru. Tell everybody what it says in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, and in that way become a guru and liberate the people around you. And he says, in that way you'll never be separated from me. Pretty sweet, right? A little uncomfortable though, right? I don't know, am I going to talk to this person? Am I going to go out of my way? Maybe they'll think I'm weird. Maybe they'll get angry at me. But 9 times out of 10, they don't. 9 times out of 10, if you bring up the fact that there's more to the world than meets the eye, and there's an unlimited amount of happiness that's available through spiritual practice as opposed to chewing the chewed and eating stuff off the sidewalk, then people in general will appreciate that. There's an underlying sense of that. So, if that one time wasn't enough, literally, I think it's 10 or 15 verses later in that same chapter, there comes a story of Vasudeva, the leper Brahmana. And Vasudeva was kind of a reject of society because he had leprosy. But somehow or other, he had developed an affinity for Lord Chaitanya, and he had a very strong desire in his heart to meet Lord Chaitanya. But Providence, or you could say Krishna, Yoga Maya, somehow or other arranged that Lord Chaitanya had left right before Vasudeva was about to meet him. And Vasudeva fell to the ground in intense agony at the prospect of having missed the opportunity to see his beloved Lord Chaitanya, who he had heard so much about. And then Lord Chaitanya, being the super soul in everyone's heart, appeared to Vasudeva, the leper. It's so incredible. And Lord Chaitanya, Gaur Leela is like the ultimate soap opera. That's where it all comes from, of course. So you'll see these intense, emotional meetings, separations, things like that. And Vasudeva is overwhelmed with love and bliss at seeing Lord Chaitanya, who somehow or other just appeared before him. They embrace. And the same thing, Vasudeva is thinking, how can I never lose this? He's finally achieved the goal of his life. He's meeting Lord Chaitanya. But he knows that the material world is strong. The modes of nature are relentless. And ultimately, it's a matter of time before there could be a forgetfulness, of Lord Chaitanya. You could forget the moment. Many of us here probably have a similar experience where maybe there was a moment or a time in our lives where we felt very close to Krishna. And then somehow or other the modes sneak in after some time and we forget. That's what Maya does. So Vasudeva, understanding this, asks virtually the same question that the Kurma Brahmana had asked, which was, how can I always be with you and feel close to you? And he gives him virtually the same answer. To boil it down, he says two things: chant Hare Krishna and teach it to others. Spread Krishna's teachings all around the world. Well, as you're able. So it's very telling, right? In that there's so many things we could do on a day-to-day basis that are good things that will help us develop our love for Krishna. But what did Lord Chaitanya specifically tell these devotees who asked him how to never lose his association? He told them that they should tell other people about Krishna. Shouldn't just keep it to themselves. That's the distinction between the Kanishta Adhikari and the Madhyama Adhikari. The Madhyama Adhikari is sharing Krishna with others. So, I encourage everybody to ask how they can follow Lord Chaitanya's instruction. To kind of tie it back to the beginning, Shrushrushrodhanasya, that by serving the pure devotee, one develops Vasudev Kata Ruchi, one gets a taste for hearing about Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya is that emblematic pure devotee, the greatest example of a pure devotee. And what's the best way to serve somebody? If someone, let's say you have somebody, an esteemed guest at your house, and they ask for a glass of water, and then you bring them a glass of milk thinking this is actually better, but they didn't want milk, they wanted water. You should give them what they ask for. So Lord Chaitanya here is very specifically asking for something. He's asking for us to teach other people about Krishna. Not just him, Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita is also saying, no one's more dear to me than the one who shares this message with others. So hint, hint, everybody, hint, hint to myself. If we want to endear ourselves to Krishna, if we want our anarthas to be melted away by his embrace, in a similar way to how Vasudev's leprosy, his sores melted away by Lord Chaitanya's embrace. And this is the secret. By sharing Krishna with others, we'll endear ourselves to Krishna, we'll endear ourselves to Lord Chaitanya, and then success is guaranteed. So, that's my spiel. We're just repeating what we heard from the scriptures, and it's a fact that the more we hear, the more these things will become implanted in our hearts, and the more inspired we'll feel to share Krishna with others. It's described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita earlier, Shunile kandibe chetar aginari dosh, Krishna gada preme habi, payibe santosh. Simply hearing submissively will free one's heart from all faults of ignorance, and thus one will develop a deep love for Krishna. This is the path of peace, it says, payibe santosh. It's a good deal. You hear about Krishna, you chant Hare Krishna, and you teach it to others, and then you'll feel a sense of spiritual self-confidence, which is essential. One of the biggest realizations I've had in my short time practicing Krishna consciousness is that I need to be able to look myself in the mirror and feel that I'm doing something productive in my spiritual life. And if we could do that, if we could be acting in such a way that we feel that we're making progress, no matter where we may be, if we're just a little bit out of our comfort zone, if we're leaning forward just a little bit, then we will keep that momentum and we'll feel inspired and enlivened in our journey. So we'd like to leave a little time for questions or comments. If anybody has anything that spoke to them or anything that they'd like to ask. Yes, Ananda Bihari Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good question. I always kind of considered myself that way as well. But Lord Chaitanya gave the instructions, so what can you do? You have to force yourself to some extent. Otherwise, Prabhupada said, going back to God, it is not a plaything. It's not that we could just be comfortable and live in our comfort zone and somehow or other, everything will work out. Krishna responds according to the degree of surrender of the devotee. And so many upadhis may be there. Oh, I'm quiet, I am shy, this and that. But in reality, we're none of those things. We're Satchidananda. And we're lovers of Krishna. Each one of us has an intense, burning desire to please Krishna. It's just covered over. And nothing can get in the way of that desire in the long run. If we're cultivating it, then everything else will fall by the wayside. I remember hearing one story about Ayendra Prabhu. Maybe Ram Roy Prabhu can confirm. But it was something along the lines of how when he had first started singing, he sounded very different than the way in which he actually, the way he ended up. I heard that somebody had said at one point that they knew him previously, whichever ashram he was in, that they were in as well. And then when they heard him singing, and then they came to Vrindavan and he sounded completely different. He had been empowered at that point. And so we may have so many different apparent material, blockages that could be there, but it's all illusory. And it's not that everybody needs to go out and do the same as everybody else, but if we're pushing ourselves a little bit, then Krishna sees that. And so that will mean different things for different people. But if we're honest and we're sincere, then it'll work out. That's a cool little caveat in that verse, Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna. That Krishna says he's the benefactor of the truthful devotee. He cleanses that desire for material enjoyment from the one who is truthful. So what does that practically mean? It means we're sincere. It means we are taking stock of where we're actually at, and we're able to move from there and push ourselves just a little bit. And in that way, we'll be empowered. So, sorry? Well, so everything is subordinate to Krishna. Yeah, everything is subordinate to Krishna. Krishna personally, he's not sitting upstairs with some crystal ball, and pulling the strings, but everything's going on perfectly by his arrangement. Just like an expert manager is not cleaning all of the toilets and working the cash register and all of that. But by his influence and by the systems that he's set up and the people he's hired, everything is done very nicely. So in that way, Krishna is the master manager. Everything goes on according to his will in a beautiful way. How wonderful is Krishna, that everything's just operating according to his desires in a perfect way. It's one of the greatest arguments I've heard against atheism, just how intricate everything is set up. I was listening to this one Christian scientist, brilliant guy named Stephen Meyer, and he talks about the fact that at even the most basic level of organic matter, there's unbelievable amounts of intricacy. Everything is arranged so perfectly so that the tail can spin, on a given organism, so that everything can work perfectly, even on the smallest level. And anywhere in which you see that degree of organization, there's always an intelligence behind it, right? And so to say that happened by chance is absolutely ridiculous. To say that a computer program coded itself perfectly so that everything works in perfect order is ridiculous. It'd be like saying the same thing. So Krishna has arranged everything perfectly so that everybody is able to develop their love for him ultimately. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, in the back. The process of reincarnation? Is there something specific about it you had a question about, or just general how it works? Sorry, one more time? You don't live once, yeah. It's a good question, yeah. This was one of the things for me that really stuck out in regard to other philosophies. The idea that we only get one chance to do something and then it's over. In reality, wouldn't it just make more sense that we get a few shots, to get it right, basically? So that's where reincarnation comes in. The entire material world is set up as a sort of cosmic sensitivity training. Hridayananda Maharaj describes in his commentary to the 10th canto. He explains that everything is going on in such a way that people are experiencing exactly what they need to experience so that they can ultimately come closer to Krishna. And so that process is a long one. It doesn't all happen in one lifetime. Our karma is piled up. And so oftentimes we need quite many lives to experience everything that we need to experience so that we can ultimately rectify ourselves and come closer to Krishna. So in one sense, it's an impersonal process. Everything's happening automatically, but in another sense, it's very personalized. It's everything's happening exactly according to what we need to develop our love for Krishna. And once we become a devotee, then it's explained that Krishna takes charge of our karma in a way. And he takes a personal interest in our ascension towards love of Godhead. That makes sense? Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so just to recap, we went over how the supreme goal of life, the real meaning to life, is to develop love of Krishna. And the reason why we're not already experiencing that love is because we have blockages in our heart we're covered over. The way to get uncovered is to develop a taste for hearing about Krishna. Vasudev Gita Ruchi. And the way to develop that taste is to serve the pure devotee, one who's completely free from all material desires. It's a very personal process. By serving those great devotees, then it'll be transferred over to us in a natural way. And who's the greatest devotee? Of course, it's Lord Chaitanya. He came specifically to be the emblem of a pure devotee, to show exactly what it looks like to love Krishna in the most intense and powerful way. And what's the best way to serve someone? It's to do what they ask. And what did Lord Chaitanya ask? He asked everybody to become a guru, to spread the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam far and wide. In that way, become a beacon of light. There's so much darkness in the world. I don't know if anyone else has noticed. There's a lot going on. More and more so, it seems. But even in the darkest place, even in a massive, cave where the sun is never even touched, just one candle is noticeable and can provide hope and relief from the massive abyss that we find ourselves in. So the way in which we can share Krishna consciousness with others is given also by Lord Chaitanya and also by Srila Prabhupada, who instructed us to go out and give people transcendental literatures. It's great work if you can get it. Highly recommend. Kana Gopal, it was Hidai Pran last week, was saying just keeping a book on you, keeping a small book on you, incredible things will happen. Just by making ourselves available to Krishna, then incredible things will happen, and we'll get so much faith. I've heard it described, I forget where, that prema is a transformation of faith. And by making ourselves available to Krishna, by engaging in the preaching work, then we'll have experiences that make Krishna undeniable. I'll end off with just a cool little story. So my wife and I, for a few years now, have been going out on book distribution regularly. Generally, we set up a table. So we had been doing it for some years when COVID came around, and everything kind of shut down. In case you forgot, It was an intense time. So we also kind of shut the operation down, at least physically. We were calling people, trying to distribute books that way, messaging people on Facebook. But it's, of course, not the same as actually setting up that beacon, of light and meeting people face to face. So meanwhile, there's one boy who had received a Science of Self-Realization a few months prior to COVID. And he read a little bit of it, thought this is nice, and then he put it down. And once COVID hit, the darkness, so to speak, then he remembered that little candle, that little book that he had picked up at one point, and he started reading it again. And through reading that book, he ultimately felt that Krishna was the form of the divine that he wanted to worship. And he's reading about the power of association, that in order to really develop your relationship with Krishna, you need to have relationships with devotees of Krishna. So he's thinking, where can I find these devotees of Krishna? And now spring is coming around, and we're starting to get that itch a little bit. We want to go out, maybe go do a book table again. But again, this is the height of COVID now, spring, 2020, whatever it was. And the first day that we decided to go back out and do the book table just so happened to be a day in which, let me go back a little bit. So he's reading this book, Association, and one night he sends up a prayer to Krishna. He says, Krishna, if you're real, if this is all real, and I believe it is, please send me a spiritual friend or a spiritual guide, someone who can help me get closer to you. And the day after that was the first day that my wife and I decided to go back out on book distribution. Can you believe it? It's pretty crazy. So we set up there in Washington Square Park, and this boy who's from New Jersey, for whatever reason, we all know the reason, Krishna helped him out, he decided to drive from New Jersey, like central, not even, close to Manhattan, but somewhere about an hour away, decided to drive into Manhattan and go to Washington Square Park. And mind you, again, there's nobody out. This is like the fallout, of COVID. There's nobody except like us and like our masks and our gloves and like some police officers who are like making sure people don't congregate. And this boy who parked his car right next to Washington Square Park got out, saw the sign, meditation books, and he walks over and he looks at the table, and what does he see? He sees the book that he just prayed to, basically the night before, the Science of Self-Realization. He says, is this Krishna? And I said, this is Krishna, yep, is that okay? And he said, it's great, yeah, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I said, this is exactly what you're looking for, who are you? And he explained to me how he'd received this book and he was looking for devotees, for people who get him closer to Krishna. So then we started reading together, and he took to it immediately, and he moved into the ashram, and now he's aspiring for Radhanath Swami. So experiences like that are things that have changed my life forever, and I'll never be the same as a result of that one and many others, actually, that are just ridiculous experiences that don't make any material sense. They've completely convinced me of the efficacy of Krishna consciousness and have given me faith that Krishna is real and he loves every one of us and he wants us to come back to him. So simply by making ourselves available as little candles, little beacons of light for the dark world that's in front of us, Krishna will use us in extraordinary ways. And he'll do so in such a way that we ourselves become purified and inspired and develop a faith that's unshakable. And if you have that, then you don't really need anything else in the world. besides little Bhagavatam, little beads, little khichdi, and you'll be happy. So thank you very much for having me. Appreciate the opportunity to be of service, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Who is that that's living in the Bhakti Center?
They were for a time. His name was Bhakta Evans.
Evans.
Bhakta Evans. He was in Bhakti Center.
You have a picture of him?
Yeah.
When he was going to do it, he had a girlfriend.
He didn't at the time. He moved into Bhakti Center during COVID, and then he went down to Bhakti.
Prabhu. Thank you. I take the class.